Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the essential tools you need to be an effective day trader. I mean, listen, if you're a carpenter, if you're a plumber, if you're a programmer, you know that a significant part of your success is having the right tools at your disposal. Today I'm going to talk about that. All right, everyone, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell if you're on YouTube to be notified as soon as we drop a new video. We put out, these days I'm going live every day. We got the short podcast, the long podcast. We got how-to videos, tons of content. Ring that bell and share with your friends. That being said, I am lead trainer with Stocks to Trade, Tim Bowen. Let's talk about some of the basic tools that you need to have. Now, understand that I would consider this like a stocks 101, but several of the things I'm going to talk about, I think people don't realize that are very little things that can really add to your efficiency. So that being said, number one, you need a computer. Okay. Now you might laugh and you'd be like, well, Tim, I need a computer to day trade. Wow. Best video ever, Tim. You're telling me I need a computer. Okay. Bear with me before you close the video and go over to like puppies and kittens. Hold on. All right. I know if you're young, if you're, maybe if you're not even young, the attraction of trading on your phone is there. I think it can be done. I know people that do it, but I think it's significantly harder. Okay. Now, I do use mobile. I do use my phone every single day for day trading, but what I use it for is alerts, especially if I need to walk away from my desk, and then I will use it to exit positions. Okay. Very, 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 very seldom am I entering positions on a phone, because in my opinion, you need the screens, you need the real estate, you need to be able to look at a big one-day chart, you need to be able to look at a big multi-day chart, you need to be able to see what the float is. There's all this research that you need to do, and again, maybe you can do it on a phone, but I don't think it's as effective. So that being said, I recommend entering positions, doing your research on a computer. You can have your Evernote, you can have your spreadsheets. I mean, think of all the stuff you need to do. In my opinion, you need a lot of stuff. And trying to do that on a phone, I just think you're asking for trouble, and even spotty connectivity, etc. And I want you following a process. I mean, it's one thing. Again, I know there's probably a YouTube video in your recommendations right now with some 19-year-old kid telling you, "Oh, trade from your phone." I mean, it's just so easy to be impulsive on that phone. I mean, listen, we're all drawn into social media. I mean, they know what they're doing, whether it be the Robinhood balloons popping and stuff. I want you to make informed decisions. I want you slowing down. Remember, fast thinking is bad thinking, in my opinion. Slow thinking is good thinking. So get a computer, and I get asked, which computer should I get? Figure out your budget. You should have a budget, and buy the best computer you can. I mean, I've got 6 screens. I got a ridiculously fast computer. It's like the size of a refrigerator. I've got touch screens. I've got all this technology. Now, for you, do a budget and buy the most expensive computer you can. I mean, that's my opinion. More power is always better, especially in this. It's a lot like, gaming, etc. More power is better. All right, next thing is a rock solid internet connection, and ideally a backup internet connection and battery protection on your internet connection. Okay, you got DWAC on screen right now. Oh, I love 400% runners. It's a great time to be alive. But listen, if you're trading a stock like DWAC, I think this thing is halted 4 or 5 times today, rips to the upside, had a couple big pullbacks. You can't be scrambling, with your internet connection down, which again, it can happen. Okay, but whatever you can do to make that as bulletproof as possible, even maybe have a multi-band router. That's what I have. I've got 2 connections that come in there from 2 providers. Not saying you needed to go that level, but find a dependable internet provider, test it, make sure you can depend on it, and then again, get that battery protection. The world we live in, It's interesting with the infrastructure out there. I mean, brownouts are more and more common. You get that little brownout or the wind blows and then all of a sudden your internet connection hiccups. So invest in a battery backup. They're one for your internet router and your computer. You can get on Amazon, a decent sized one under $100. So, and then again, like I said, if you can, I'm not saying you have to, but if you can, have those two connections, man. If you're in DWAC, you can't depend on your internet going out. Next thing I highly, highly, highly recommend is this. Standing desk, okay? You need to think fast. You need to keep your energy up. You need to be ready to make snap decisions, and you need to protect your health, okay? And I think, me personally, and I think this has been proven many times. Oh my gosh, DWAC, you're so pretty. Humans are meant to think standing up. Again, we come from hunter-gatherers. You're programmed that way. And I think, again, go back to like the fight or flight response. I think you're just thinking better on your feet. And I think you're going to make better decisions. I think you just lose a little energy sitting down all day. So take advantage of it. Now I've got the sit stand desk. So if you do get a little tired or the market's a little slow, you can lower it and sit down. But I think it makes me think better. And you can agree or disagree. I think it works. I think if you do the research, you'll agree. And then ultimately, it's just good for you. It's not good to sit all day long. And when you're trading these volatile stocks, man, it's not hard to look at the clock and be like, I've been sitting here for 5 hours and I haven't gotten up. Okay. So invest in it. Take care of your health. At the end of the day, if you make a bunch of money day trading, it doesn't do you any good. If you're sick, if you got a bad back, listen, if you make 10 grand day trading today, but then you can't go out and play ball with your kids, run around the yard, what's the money for at that point? So take care of your health. And then on that, blue blocker glasses, which I don't know where mine are. That's embarrassing. They're over there somewhere. So I got my contacts in right now, but I've got prescription blue blockers, and then I've got a non-prescription set. The non-prescription set, you can go on Amazon. I think they're $20, $25. It's funny. I remember like growing up years and years ago, people would kind of mock the blue blockers and stuff. And I think back when we weren't staring at screens 18 hours a day, I think the value was somewhat limited, but I see a huge difference, especially at the end of the day when I wear my blue blockers, which I'm not right now. But when I wear those, eye strain as well as like fatigue. If I go an entire day staring at these screens, barely walking away except for bathroom and coffee breaks, you get to the end of the day and you're just you're tired. You're like feel like you got to take a nap, and the blue blockers really do help with that. And back to the whole playing catch with your kids. I mean, if you get to the end of the day and you're totally wiped out, what's the point? And now again, I'm not saying it's an absolute game changer, but they work. That's what and I think long term, especially, I've been staring at these screens every day, all day long for 15 years now. Long-term effects, I think blue blockers is a great idea. And again, non-prescription set, like $20. I think it's so worth it. Last couple things. Tools you need. A good online broker. Okay. And again, you might be like, oh, Tim, I need a broker to trade stocks. But notice what I said. You need a good one. Try and avoid, we know the name. I don't want to get yelled at by anybody, but we know the number one free broker out there, and we know what happened during the meme stocks run, and we know they're selling your order flow, and we know they lock you out at volatile times, stuff like that. So, I know free is attractive, and if you're really new, okay, if you're brand new and you got a really small account, I'd say, I know I'm kind of bouncing back, but fine. If you got $500, $1,000 in your trading account and you're brand new, you can use the freebies. But when things start clicking and you're getting into the professional mode, you're not dabbling anymore, you're consistent, and you're really looking to grow, you need a real brokerage account. You can't be getting locked out of stocks. That you can't be dealing with, oh, you can't trade this security. You know, it happens, okay? A lot of these big, huge runners, sometimes you just can't trade them on those free accounts. So once you're past that point of, again, a micro account, get a respected, you know, non-free broker, okay? And listen, nobody likes paying commissions. Nobody likes paying data fees. I'm as cheap as they get, but you get what you pay for. And you got to have a professional brokerage account. Now, you might ask which one. It changes here and there. I mean, you can Google and just do your research. You know, there's several of them that have been the best for 20 plus years, but spend a little time, ask around. You know, that's what I would say. I mean, depending on when you're watching this video, hit me on Twitter, or if you see other prominent day traders, say, hey, what broker are you using? What could you recommend? But use a real broker. So, and then last thing is have your data tracking tools. And I think spreadsheets are the best way to do that. I know a lot of people can be a little bit intimidated by spreadsheets. You know, the one thing I've been using spreadsheets, you know, I had a business years ago. I mean, so I'm well versed in that, but I know it can be a little intimidating. You launch Excel, you launch Google Docs, and it's just this grid of emptiness. And you're like, where do I begin? Okay. But YouTube's an awesome resource. You're on YouTube right now, most likely. There's books out there. I've got resources on the Stocks to Trade University. Just, you know, understand spreadsheets and use them. And that's the biggest thing is all these tools don't do you any good if you don't use them. Track your data, track your data, track your data. Okay. Again, even if you're brand new to spreadsheets, start somewhere and build up your system. I don't care if you start with ticker, entry, exit, time of day, and thesis, okay? If that 4 fields, okay? But start somewhere, modify, tweak, improve, and then 4 months later, 6 months later, a year later, you got a great system for tracking your data and improving your trading. So, all right, everyone. These are all things we talk about every single day in the Steady Trade team. Definitely hit that link below. Would love to work with you. It's a small group, great group, just an amazing team atmosphere. Would love to work with you. Check out the Steady Trade team, and we'll see you next time.